Mason Welch. I'm just going to talk about some of the basic moves in chess. Just take everything off. I'm going to talk about how the pieces move, very basics of the game. Let's start with the most easy, the king. Take everything else. You know what? There we go. Now, normally, for most people who play chess will know that this is an illegal position because of one of the main rules of the king. Check. So, let's move them away from each other. There we go. He can move to any single square adjacent to him, so like that. And in the other case, like that. Now let's go here. Say for some reason in this position these two kings have never moved before in their entire game. This king, I'll move over to, rook comes around to circle him, it's called castling. Now, so let's move this one over here. No, that's actually good. Let's add this one though. You can go queen side, so over 2. On the queen side, again, if this king and rook have never moved before, and there's one more rule. Now this king, it looks like the king's castle king side. He actually cannot. See, this rook covers this entire F file. Let me explain the rook. Rook covers an entire file on rank, files being vertical, ranks being horizontal. He covers all the squares. So now say he's here. He's directly in line with the king, meaning that he's attacking the king. This king is in what's called check. Say it's black's move now. Black would have to move out of the way. You cannot castle out of check, so his legal moves are that. He couldn't go there because he's in check. Couldn't go there because he's in check. So say there, for instance, and it keeps working its way until, yeah, I'm not going to do that right now. Now, let's go on to the knight. The knight can go to squares that are in a small L shape from him. Good way to count it out is 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1. Same thing for the black knight. There we go. Yeah. I've noticed some newer players seem to actually have trouble with the knight, so it's good to pay attention to the 1, 2, 1. Again. Now, little notice thing, just watch this. You'll see the knight always goes to a square, the opposite one of the color that he's on. No special rules notable for knights. Let's go on to the bishops. These are called bishops. They cover diagonals like this. Now each player will have one light squared bishop and one dark squared bishop. For instance, white's dark squared bishop can move as such right now. As you can see, it can move into the square of black's dark squared bishop, effectively capturing the piece. Now, there's no blocks for either of them. And since there's no kings on the board, there's no actual game, but that shows them. Finally, not finally, but queens. Now, the king can move anywhere adjacent to him. The queens can keep following those lines infinitely until they're blocked. Actually, if you put them in the middle of the board, it makes this little star shape. Actually, let's just do that. she can go like this. That's how the queen moves. The pawns, now the pawns are actually have the most special rules following them. Now normally a pawn can move forward 1 space. In its first move, say the pawn is still on the 2nd rank from where it starts, would move out 2. Well, it can. The owner's choice, it can also start out going 1, going 2 as well. Instantly gets to the center. Mentioned center. I'm going to talk about this. Now I'm going to move this over, states white to move. As you can see, it looks like these pawns couldn't take each other, but they're not in the direct path, but you can. Pawns actually only take diagonally. Let's go here. Say this, black's like, well, I want to get this pawn out. I don't want to go here because then he's going to take it. Goes like that. White can actually take the pawn with, it's called en passant. And it only works when the pawn goes out 2 and you move behind it. Basic strategy. The center. Yeah, center. Even gonna go as far to say this. Okay, I'm just gonna go there. This is the center, these 4 squares. Bishops and knights, queens, even the king are the most powerful in the center. But, I'm saying even the king because usually you want your king castled and safe behind his pawns. It's actually kind of silly because the dark square, the black king would be up here. That normally, but just to show where you want everything. See the bishop? Let's just take all these off. Proof that the bishop and the knight and the queen are the most powerful in the center, though. Even the pawns, I should say. Look, this bishop covers 2 full diagonals. Now say this bishop is down here. Sure, it has complete control over this line. And it's not doing much. Bad bishops. His bishop is here. This is a sad bishop. He can't capture his own pawns, so he may as well be a tall pawn here. He kind of tall pawn as in he's not doing anything other than protecting other pieces. And sure, having defensive pieces is good, but this is ugly. You do not want this. It's a bad bishop. Bad bishop. Knights. Knight basics also stronger in the center. Look at, and if you see, compared to the corner, it can only go there. No, yeah. It's actually best to keep your knights off the edge of the board. A knight on the rim is grim, or dim, whatever you prefer to say. Okay, I get it. Okay. So, yeah, as you can see, there are these 2 weaker knights, and then there are these powerful knights. As you can see, not all knights are created equal. Some knights are actually definitely not equal because they are on the rim. A knight on the rim is not an equal knight at all. Just take off all the ones from that only the rim knights cover. You'll see that you can get pretty much the same exact coverage of squares there with a knight on the center. Even though sometimes it is good to have a knight on the rim, it's generally better to have knights in the center. Knights can also be used for some powerful attacks, namely forks. This is one of the most basic tactics in all of chess. The knight moving here to place the king in check, forcing him to move out of the way, and then gladly gobbling up the rook. Just to show you again. One second. Sorry about that. Knight moves here, attacking both the king and the rook. King, because the top priority is to get the king out of check. Actually, legally, if the king is in check, you have to get out of check. And then he gladly gobbles up the rook. And can happen with the queen as well. It's called a royal fork. Can happen with a bishop. Really can happen with any number of things, but it's always a sad time when a knight forks your king and another piece. How to get out of check. Look at this position again, but this time there's this. The king is in check and is about to lose the rook, but bishop to the rescue, as the bishop can capture the knight, effectively getting the king out of check. Another thing, how to get out of check. This won't work as well, obviously, with the rook there, so I'm just going to eliminate the rook for the purpose of this. King's in check by the bishop. And again, defense from the bishop. Let's even make this higher stakes. Make it so that has to happen, shall we? Let's go there. Let's go there. Then, yeah. So, if this bishop wasn't able to block, this king would actually have nowhere to go because he's blocked in by his own pieces. Let's take that bishop out. This is called checkmate, and the ultimate goal of the game. If you checkmate the enemy king, you instantly win. That is number one way to win the game, checkmate. Another way to win the game is if for some reason white decides let's just say in this position, black is up a queen and a bishop, and white realizes the game is unwinnable. White chooses that he does not want to play anymore because he's going to lose. He can choose to resign, instantly losing the game and giving the win to black. Another way, games can end in more ways than just a victory. Games can actually end in a draw. Many games are ended in draws. For instance, you could have white say this is the most simple of draws. It's a draw by insufficient material, meaning that neither player has any way to checkmate. And yeah, I mean, you can move the kings around all you want. You can corner one of them. There will never be a checkmate. That's just it. So it is considered a draw. Again, a single bishop and a king, draw. Single knight and a king, draw. So that's one type of draw. The other type of draw is called stalemate, and it is the saddest sometimes because you got that. Let's go to the more likely situations. Go here. The sad time when white gets the opposition in an endgame. Opposition meaning the kings are exactly one square apart. Oh, that's direct opposition. An odd number of squares apart, to be sure. But not for now. Sad time in the end game when white has decided he would rather block black's pawn. But realizing as the king is defending the pawn and these two squares, and the pawn is defending these two squares, being the pawn attacks diagonal, the king can't go here because then he'd be moving into check and unfortunately die. So that's an illegal move. Meaning that this poor king, not so poor actually because he's going to survive, is trapped here and the game is a draw, a stalemate. This king, however, goes and cries because it looks just so winnable. I'll explain why. Now say this is the position. Let's just go with this. Uh-oh. Looks bad for white. I mean, doesn't look much like he's going to be able to stop this pawn from getting to G1. Why would he not want the pawn to get to G1? Here's why. Because the pawn becomes a queen, or a knight, or a bishop, or a rook. Could be that, or even that, or even that. With this queen, white is dead because it blocks off this entire file, or even can just be forced to block out everything on its own. But blocking off this entire file, white's king is unfortunately trapped. As black's queen takes her own king, apparently. No, that doesn't happen. You're just going to see this happen. King's moving. He's going to slowly hunt this king down. And there we go. He's now able to protect his queen as she delivers the killing blow on the enemy king. And this is a checkmate. A reminder, this is victory for black. Let's go here. Next. Oh, okay, this type of draw. This is another type of draw. White moves here. Black. Okay. Black moves here. White moves here. Yeah, how did I do that? That's wrong. That's wrong. It's definitely wrong indeed. White moves here. Black moves here. Move here. Black moves here. White moves here. Black moves here. Moves here. Okay, wait. Okay, white move. Silly computer. Ah, screw. Let's just do this. Okay, so black wants to put his bishop here. White moves his king. He brings it back. Black moves his king. Puts it back. White moves it back. Black moves his king. White moves it back. And black moves his king. White moves his king. We have now been in this position a total of 3 times, meaning that this is a draw by 3-fold repetition. Another way to draw is, say, because both players realize that neither of them have the material needed to mate, in this position at least, they agree to call it a draw. One player offers a draw, and black looks at the position before gladly accepting, or sometimes not so. It's up to the player to offer or accept a draw. It should be a possible mate. Actually, it is possible right here for white to checkmate. Neat little thing again, black being trapped by his own piece. But this will never happen, ever. Again, just showing you why this is checkmate. King blocks off the other square, and this poor bishop is helpless to do anything because he's in the way of his own king. Like, he can't. If he goes there, then the bishop takes the king. Or just dies randomly. Try that. And this poor bishop is left without a life and hopeless. And let's just go that. But now we've gone to waste. This is the starting position, how a game starts. Alright, some basic tactics. That's what I'm just going to do. I mentioned the pin earlier, the fork earlier using knight. This is the pin. This game is virtually unwinnable for black because he does not have enough material to mate once again. But white, in this position, say it was black to move, the bishop could not move because then the rook would gobble up the king. Say in this position, say white moves here because he feels he has a move, he wants to go there. Now, black gladly accepts this offer, these unknown offer to trade, because white just now realizes that the rook is unable to move because the king is right behind it. King moves, bishop takes, and the game, sadly for white, is drawn. Skewer. This sounds like a deadly tactic because it is a skewer. It's exactly that. Let's say it is black to move. Again, it looks hopeless for black since the queen is so much more powerful than just a mere rook. But this rook seizes opportunity and attacks the helpless king. This will be a 1 game for black. As you can see, a lot of tactics have to do with checking the king because, well, check means that it gives you the allowance to attack a different piece than the king as well, and force the king to move while attacking that piece, effectively making your attack immensely more powerful. Double check. Let's do this double check. This is quite the tactic. Quite my favorite tactic. Who doesn't have it as their favorite tactic, actually. Say we go there. We have a pawn there. Now this looks like it'll be fine. This looks like it'll be fine. I mean, this looks like it'll be fine, right? This knight moves to attack, so the bishop can discover an attack. Discovery attacks, I'll mention it. Yeah, let's go with discoveries. That's good. We do that while we're here. Say this move. Oh, the bishop will just move away. Actually, it would be fine because this bishop takes to the knight, protecting it. But let's not mention that. This would actually be a checkmate, by the way. The queen protecting it as well. That's on me. That another way to checkmate here. It's pretty interesting because you're checking with the knight. This poor king is under attack from 2 directions, and will surely die because he can't go here because of the pawn. He can't go here, here, or here because of the queen. He can't go here because of the queen. And he's in check by the bishop and the knight at the same time, meaning that this bishop will not be able to block because then the knight would take the king. Let's go to discoveries. Discoveries. Position that looks a little more equal than before, but very winnable for white with this one move. Because, once again, a check as the rook is discovered by the attacking bishop. King moves to defend his woman, but sadly loses her in the process, and will slowly be boxed in by the rook until he's checkmated. Let's just go up to here. And this is also a checkmate. Alright. X-ray. Let's see. Rook. Now, let's just do this. It would seem like white would be making a fine trade for black, as capturing this rook would allow his rook to capture the a3 rook. But because this is an X-ray, let's go back to the position after the capture. Black hopelessly lost the trade because, oh no, that's not what I wanted. See, this rook isn't here. This rook can safely take this. But since this rook is here, the rooks are actually defending each other through the enemy rook, allowing for an X-ray. Now this rook will either have to move or trade. And the position has gone well for white, giving, again, rook to white. Windmill. Here's a fun little one that will never actually happen. Let's go here. Yeah, this will actually work. Oh, should be able to show 2 tactics for this one. Now this position is as beautiful as it gets for white. Check. Again with this helpless king. Let's block him off a little bit. Give him a piece, stopping him from moving away. Say a knight here. Actually, that's an illegal move. Once he moves here, and the knight to make him hurt inside. This knight captures a rook. King is in check once again. He can block the check with his knight. Check defended. And that's not really a windmill. Should have gone windmill. I'm gonna go where it switches to a bishop so we can't block. But, just to tell you we can't block with the rook because then he just loses it and it's awful. So moves here, checked again, moves. This is really ethnical program. Checked, moves, check, move, takes queen, check. And it's left helpless. It was like, say there were actually some pieces of whites on the board. White just lost. White just gained so much material that it's ridiculous. If this tactic ever plays out, I will applaud the person who pulled it off somehow. Now here is a sad moment. A sad moment. Black. Now, here's a little mating combination that will lead to this working. See, using the pin tactic from before, because this bishop is stopping this pawn from moving. Once we move here, it cannot actually take this knight, or the king would die. It cannot push forwards. The king would die. This pawn cannot push forwards because of this knight. Can't take forward with pawns. It'll never happen, never will. Never has, never will. This knight can move, but then he's checkmated because his king... Oh, knights can jump. Wow, took me forever to mention that. Knights jumping, miraculous jumping knights. Their abilities to checkmate kings through their own wall of pieces like this. This poor king is smothered in his own pieces in the normally well-named smothered mate. Poor guy. Feel bad for him. No, I don't. Don't feel bad for him. Don't never feel bad for your enemy. Your opponent is your enemy, and they will always be your enemy. Okay, me getting a little goofy there. Now here's an interesting one. This one. This is fun. Let's go with that. This is interesting. Say white has his queen here, and a bishop here again. Sure. Let's checkmate there. What did I do wrong? That's right. It's this here. Okay. So from this position, let's say from this position actually, that we don't even need the bishop anymore. Go check, boom, check, boom. Oh, this can't be here. I'm hitting a man. Oh, because the rook is here. Check. And then the queen decides that her life is less important than the enemy king's. And this is again that checkmate. Call. similar to a line called the Venus flytrap. If you want to look that up, look up Venus flytrap. And that should wrap it up for now. Thank you for watching. Peace.